welcome back. I was upstairs cleaning, and this album has been sitting on my coffee table, and as you can see, it is well loved and is falling apart. So I am going to make a small album to put these pictures in and leave them there. When my grandkids were younger, we would go through these pictures, and it has family pictures in it, and we would go through and name the people that were in here so that they learned who their family was, and I think even their pets were in here. So come along with me and we will work, and I will show you how I figure out how to do the measurements for my album. So let me get this out of the way and I will be right back. So the first thing we do when we are doing a project is figure out your measurements. Now this is like kind of like a recipe book for my crafting items. Has different handwriting things I was working on. Shows different albums that I've made, how I figured it out. Some I've gotten from other YouTubers, and a lot of times I will write on the side who that came from. And then some of my own designs, I did a legal pad. You can find that video. Different boxed sets. I found a YouTube that did a boxed card set, mini cards, and I changed the box a little bit to suit me better, and I wrote those there. I have different card patterns, some from others. I did a nugget box of my own pocket calendar that I did of my own. This is one chapstick holder. I'm going to do a different kind of chapstick holder this year. And mini waterfall photo album, kind of talked about that a little bit. I haven't totally finished that. And 6x6 mini albums, but mine don't actually turn out 6x6, and we will talk about that. And plus there's plenty of other pages for me for new designs, for handwriting samples. So the paper I'm using is going to be a 12 by 12. So for 12 by 12 paper, I can get 4 6x6 decorative pages out of that. So that is a 6 by 6 part. Now I like to have an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around my paper, just to kind of offset it, make it look a little more professional. So that means that I have to cut my white pages that go inside my album. They have to be 6 1/4, okay, by 6 1/4 finished. But since I do a 1/2 inch gusset, or that I will score at a 1/2 inch, it actually has to be 6 1/4 by 6 3/4, because you take your 1/2 inch out of that, that leaves you the 1/4. Okay, gotcha so far? So those are 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, and I like to have a bit of leeway to protect my pages a little bit. And I know in here I think I did the one as 7 by 7, which is a little bit bigger than I think I want to do this time. Thinking I only want, I think I want more than a 1/4 of an inch, but I may have to do just a 1/4 of an inch. So that would give me 6 1/2 by 6 1/2 for my pages, or for my cover. But by the time you cover that with paper and stuff, it's going to be a little bit bigger, so I think it will work So we'll go 6.5 by 6.5. And I have figured out in the past that for the pages that I want, find my notes here. Yeah, 6.5 by 6.5. And then I do my spine. And to get the 4 pages in, I think I have to do 2.5 by 6.5 for the spine. So if you have 4 pages that are 1/2 inch apart, I'm going to turn this over so that you can see this. Each of these squares is 1/2 inch. So we're going to start at the back of our album and put in 4 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we should have a 1/2 inch in the top. So it should be 1 inch, 2 inch, and 1/2. So that'll give us the 1/2 inch on each side. So 2.5 by 6.5. And this is what we're going to cut chipboard pieces. So it's going to be 2 of those and just 1 of this out of chipboard. I'll be back and I'll show you what paper I have decided to use for this album. So I have my chipboard pieces cut out, my front and back and my spine. I decided I'm going to use Stamperia's Old Lace collection. It's very vintage and I love vintage shabby chic. Lots of beautiful papers here, and I can get 4 pages out of 1 paper. There are cards here that I can use for journaling cards, putting pictures on the back. The backs are also very decorative, but you know, you can put your picture back here and not lose the decoration from the front. Very, very pretty. So this I will use, it's very neutral, so it should go okay in my living room. My living room, the color of my sofa and chairs is called mushroom, so it is kind of a brownish, tannish color. And I think this will be perfect in there. And as I said, you can get 4 pages out of 1 blank page. There's also tags you can use for smaller pictures, other decorative items that you can use in the album. I am going to be building fold-out pages as well as pockets to store all the pictures that I have in that album. There's quite a few in there. So I will need to build onto the 4 pages that are the base pages. Also, I wanted to show you, this is the Fiskars cutter. It's a rotary bypass cutter that I use to cut my chipboard. That was one thing when I was a brand new crafter that I had a really hard time with, was how do I cut my chipboard. I was using my regular paper trimmer, and nothing kills the paper trimmer's blade faster than chipboard. It would go through the blades pretty quickly. So I saved my regular paper trimmer to do my basic cardstock, and I use this to cut the heavy stuff like the chipboard. So let me get all this out of the way and we will start building our basic album. I also have a whole video dedicated just to building a basic album, so you can watch that if you like to get started, or you can follow along with me as I work on this album. Okay, some of the other things you're going to need for this project are a couple of some plain cardstock to cover your album with when we build it. You're going to need a scoring board and a cutting board. You will also need score tape. I'm also going to be using art glitter glue, a bone folder. I'm going to use a brayer. If you don't have one of these, you can get away without it. And of course, the chipboard pieces that we cut out already. So the first thing I want to do, and my score tape is 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch. So the first thing is I'm going to take 2 of these pieces of paper and I'm going to hook them together. To do that, I'm going to take my 1/2 inch score tape and I'm going to go down the very edge on the short edge. Take your bone folder, burnish that down to the paper so it sticks very well. Forgot I'm also going to need my tool for taking the tape cover off. Now the first thing I use my scoreboard for is to line these 2 pages up so that they are perfectly straight together. If I don't do this step, I can end up with it being not straight, and I don't care for that at all. So you take your tape backing off. Line this piece up with the scoring mat so that you're nice and straight, and then lay it down. Get this out of the way. And now we're going to burnish these together. Now, I'm not selling this album, so I'm not going to bother with Tyvek. Tyvek is a tool, it's a piece of paper. It's they make envelopes out of it that don't rip and stuff. It helps keep from putting pressure on your joints when you're opening and folding your album to keep them from cracking. If I were selling this album, I would be doing that. But I'm not selling it. It's for my own home use. So I'm going to just use nothing at all that way. So I'm going to take my ruler here and line it up on the line. And then I'm going to draw a straight line across. And I'm going to use a pencil to do that. And this I like to do to keep my album going straight on the paper. I tend to have kind of a crooked eye, and if I don't do that, I end up with everything crooked, and that does not make for a good album. So I'm going to use my art glitter glue, and I'm going to take my spine, cover it with glue, and put it down in the very middle of the seam here. That way, when I am opening and closing my album, it does not put any pressure on this seam, so it will not come away on you and come apart. Then our next piece, I'm going to cover that with art glitter glue. If you live in a cold part of the country, do not buy art glitter glue in the winter. They should not be even selling it to you or shipping it to you this time of year. If your art glitter glue freezes, it's no good. It will not work, and you will be very disappointed. So only buy it during the warm months. All right. Now I'm going to use my spacer to make sure that my pieces are far enough apart to prevent them from pulling or tearing the paper. You want to have some room in there for them to fold. So, and the last piece. And my spacer is just 2 pieces of the heavy chipboard with a single piece of the lightweight chipboard, like cereal box type chipboard in between, just to give me just enough room to bend my pages open and close without pulling, and without lessening it will lessen the chance of it cracking. Also, you don't want your album cover to bind when you're opening and closing it. So okay. And again, use the spacer. I'm going to turn this over. Use my spacer, push up against my spacer with my front cover or back cover, whichever cover it becomes, and glue everything together. Okay, I'm going to close up my art glitter glue now because I do not want it to dry out. Art glitter glue dries very quickly. That's one of the things that I love about it for doing crafts. But as I said, it dries quickly, which can also cause you some problems. So I'm going to mark about 1 inch on each side here. And then I'm just going to cut it off. If you can slide this into your paper cutter, you can do that. I'm just going to use a pair of scissors. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is miter my corners. You want to leave some paper there because you want to cover the chipboard when you fold it over. So always make sure you leave a bit of cover there. Hope you can see that okay. And I'm going to do that on all sides. All right, get all that out of the way. Now I'm going to take my 1/2 inch and I'm going to go around to all the edges. Forgot to look for my 1 inch clear block that I use, and I use that to tear my tape. It makes tearing the tape easier, but I don't know where it is right at the moment. I've been remodeling well, I shouldn't say remodeling, redoing my craft room a bit here, so still getting used to where I stuck things. Okay, and I also like to go around the inside edges of the chipboard on my album here so that things are very well stuck down. Now, I was at a craft fair one time and I heard people saying that, oh, you can use cereal box chipboard for all these projects that I had sitting on my table. And they were just walking by, so I really didn't say anything about it, but I do not use cereal box chipboard. I buy the good heavy duty chipboard from, I get it off Amazon. It is a good sturdy chipboard that is not real bendy like the cereal box. Cereal box chipboard is very bendy, and to me it's not much stronger, only a tiny bit stronger than my cardstock, so I do not use that kind. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to just take our album and start folding up. You want to slowly do this. You are stretching the fibers in the cardstock and giving them a new memory. So you don't want to do this process too fast. So you don't want to crack your cardstock. And when you're done, you want a nice clean edge. So make sure you use good quality cardstock. I cover my albums with 65-pound cardstock. If you use the 110 to cover, you're going to end up with a lot of cracks and things not coming together very well. So I like to use the 65-pound for that. I use the 110-pound for my pages inside. There's only one score on them, and I want my pages to be durable. So now we're going to take and we're going to start on one long side and take our paper off of our adhesive tape. And then we're going to start in the middle. We're going to come up and move out to the edges, bringing this up. Then we're going to just burnish that down. And we're going to move on to the other long side, and let's stretch that again before we turn it. Okay. Take our tape off, well, our paper cover to our adhesive. Another thing you'll notice, if you don't burnish this down to your chipboard is kind of a more fibrous item, and you can have it pull up off your chipboard on you, and it will bring chipboard with it. So you want to be very careful of that. All right, and we're going to burnish this down. Okay, now for the corners. You are going to gently push. You can use your fingernail, you can use your bone folder, but you're going to push in this little part here that you left overlapping or left a little bigger. And that's going to cover that corner so that your chipboard does not show through the corner. And this, paper is the same color as the chipboard, so you're really not going to notice a whole lot. But if you are covering your chipboard with white or black or some other color, you are going to notice. And let's put that piece of tape over, bring that up, start in the middle again, go out to the edges, and burnish that down. And same on this side, push that corner in on both sides. And then take off your tape covering. All right, push that in. Start at the middle, bring it up and across, and again, burnish it down. Now we need to put the inside in here. And again, we are going to take our 2 sheets and hook them together. Oops, sorry, I bumped the light. All right, so again, the 1/2 inch, we're going to go right along here. We are going to burnish it down. And again, we're going to line it up. All right, then we are going to measure our paper, and it is, if we leave a gap, it'll be like 15.5. I need to write that down or I won't remember it. By 6. So we're going to grab our paper cutter. And it probably would have been easier to cut this at 6 inches before I glued them together. So we'll see how this works. But we don't even have 15.5 on here. So we are going to mark with this. This is a, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a cutting mat, and it has measurements on it. So I want to go 15.5, and I want to divide that by 2. So I want to take that off both ends. So we would have 7.25. No, that's not right. 7.75. From each edge. So we're just going to kind of make a mark where we're going to cut. Now this is a Fisker's paper cutter, and I like this because it has the metal edge that you line up with exactly where you're going to cut. So from that, we're going to do the 15 and a half. And hopefully we'll be about right. Because we kind of want to center this also in our album so that the seam is going down the middle where it won't be seen. It'll be covered by the page hinges. Okay, and now this is supposed to be 6, which is not going to work real well. How am I going to do this? You know what? I think my other one's bigger. Let's check that out. I don't think it's bigger either. Oh, yeah, it kind of is. You normally use this one for cutting chipboard because it's my heavy duty cutter. I don't usually use this for paper. But use as straight as we can. Okay. I think that cut might be a bit crooked, but we'll see. Okay. It's hard to see with them being the same color, but it looks good. So we are gonna put down our tape and some glue. Gonna go around the edge of our paper here. I forgot to show you what the brayer we use that for. We use that on this side to make sure that everything sticks down good, especially if you decide to not use the glue and use the score tape on that side. Then you want to brayer it down to make sure it sticks. I used glue, so that is not a concern for me. But like I said, things don't always stick real well to the chipboard. It will pull away, so you want to brayer that down to burnish it, or you can just use your bone folder gently so you don't scratch it to burnish that down. So we need to burnish this all the way around. Make sure it sticks real good to the cardstock. Okay. Then in here, we're going to put this on the inside of our album. I like to use a lot of score tape on the inside to keep the papers stuck down so they do not buckle when you fold them. That can be a real problem when you're making an album. And after you do all this work and have all these materials stuck into it, the last thing you want is for it to buckle and not look good. So, all right, now we burnish all this down. All right. Now, sometimes I just put it on the sides. You've seen that in other albums. I do it that way. Then I put glue down too. This time I'm just going to use the score tape. I apologize, I'm probably out of screen right now, but I want to see what I'm doing with getting this tape off. All right, so now we're gonna turn this over, line it up, do the best you can with that, keeping things as straight as possible, and then put it down. And if you don't have a brayer, this is the time you're going to want to use your bone folder and gently burnish this down so that it does not come off when you bend your album at the creases. All right, then we're going to take our bone folder and we're going to gently start looking for where that crease is. And we're going to gently go in the crease and bend our album up. We're going to do the same on the other side. If you bend it without using the bone folder, you have a greater chance of it bubbling up on you. Use that bone folder to press down in that crease. That will help keep the paper where you want it. So this is the start of our album. We're going to stop here. I think this video is plenty long, and we will come back tomorrow, come back next time and put pages in, and we'll get those cut for that. I'm going to put my brayer on top like this so that my paper develops a memory that I want it to fold at the creases. Otherwise, you leave it like this and you'll come back later, it could be wide open. So we want it to develop this memory. That is it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing and coming back and seeing the rest of the videos. And I will see you next time. Happy crafting, everyone.